Hello, and welcome to the Control Your Cash podcast. I'm your host, Olivia Kirk.
And I'm your co host, Tim Urich, and we have our return guest, Layton McMillan. Layton, welcome to the show again.
Thanks for having me back. Excited to be back today and really excited to get into silver this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Last time we had a great conversation regarding gold, and I know today we're going to touch a little bit on gold, but mainly focus on silver. I know we had our audience received the gold information very well and found it very interesting. So we appreciate you taking the time to come back today, Layton.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
So let me start off with a question. As far as, what do you think the main difference is between deciding to purchase gold versus purchasing silver?
That's a great question. I would say initially, it's the affordability. Everyone has a little bit different amount of money that they can afford to put into gold and silver. And I think it's one of the upsides to silver right now is more Americans can afford to invest in silver versus gold. So a quick answer I would say is the affordability of silver. It's still hovering around $30 an ounce to where gold is, closer to 27, 2,800. So I think in general, as far as popularity or for the average American, silver just applies a lot better than physical gold does.
Yeah, certainly you're able to have more of a reach with silver versus gold if that's within your budget. But as far as the inflation protection and everything like that, would you say it's similar with silver, or is there a downside to silver with taking on that affordability aspect?
Well, one of the most exciting things about silver right now is both physical silver and physical gold provide the same role for us. They provide the same utility as far as getting away from the current monetary system we use now, the current US dollar, which is what we had kind of gone over the first time I came on your guys' podcast. But what's exciting to me about silver, specifically over gold right now, is both gold and silver have been used as money for thousands of years. They have never gone to zero. They have always been a reliable form of money for us. And that's one of the reasons that it's one of the smartest things we can do today. But that being said, because silver can play the same role, can provide the same utility as gold for us, the fact that silver is undervalued right now in terms of US dollars is why it's most attractive. One of the reasons why it's most attractive for investors that want to take advantage of the difference between gold and silver. So in general, we're talking to clients about silver every day just because of its current value compared to gold and the upside potential it has compared to gold. One thing I will throw out right away, which we did talk about the first interview, is investors, citizens, they shouldn't view gold and silver as a speculation where you're going to buy it today and hope to make a great return on it and sell it in a short amount of time. So even though we need to approach gold and silver in general as far as being a hedge against inflation or a safe haven of your wealth, silver does have an higher upside potential in our opinion. So if you want to be a little bit more strategic within your metals, I think silver is a great choice right now.
So, Layton, have you seen an increase in demand for both gold and silver, let's say over the past, not only, let's say the past 4 or 5 years, but then also maybe over the past 5 or 6 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So both gold and silver have been gaining relevancy, within the average conversation of Americans. I still don't think physical gold and silver has really hit the mainstream, but I've been in the business for almost a decade now. So when I got into the business, talking to people about gold and silver was a little bit of a harder conversation versus today. So in general, the idea of gold and silver, the popularity is rising. It's starting to trend, which is really exciting for me. People are starting to want to learn for the first time and figure out what the best way, we can use gold and silver to help ourselves is. But so in general, the financial interest has increased in both gold and silver as people start to figure out what's going on with our current money system, that the US dollar is not as reliable as it may have been. But also specifically with silver, one thing I say about silver is I kind of view it like a double-edged sword, because with silver, we actually have two different things that drive the price. With gold is mainly driven by the financial interest, the financial demand for the physical monetary metal. Silver, you also have, a good financial demand, which is what, we supply every day with our clients. but also silver has an incredible industrial demand. And I think that might be one of the biggest aspects that is attractive for silver right now. So not only the financial interest has grown with both gold and silver, but especially these past 5 to 10 years with silver specifically for manufacturing. A lot of people don't know, but of all pure elements, silver is one of the single most light reflective and the single most heat conductive. So what that means is it translates to so many different applications for manufacturing. And I guess one of the biggest industries that is consuming silver right now is all these emerging technologies related to electronics, whether that be solar panels, electric vehicles, things that are somewhat powering the new energy transition. So going forward, there's so many great things about silver, but in general, absolutely, the popularity has been rising.
Layton, I was wondering, you see so much with the AI these days. I was wondering if there's an application for applying silver to that industry as well. Are you seeing that?
I guess when it comes to specifically artificial intelligence, I don't know of any direct link between that and silver, other than the artificial intelligence relies on a lot of the other technological infrastructure, the computer systems, the servers, all of the technology manufacturing that goes into, giving that AI a platform to operate on. So, with artificial intelligence specifically, I, don't know anything other than just, electronics in general are really pushing towards using a lot of the silver. Actually, we've been a few years now, we've been at a deficit for the amount of silver mined around the world compared to the amount of physical silver used for manufacturing. So that's kind of something that should catch people's attention, especially if you're learning for gold, about gold and silver for the first time, is if we think of it from a basic supply and demand aspect, the physical asset, physical silver, it's a finite resource that we have to mine, extract out of the earth, refine it, and then mint it or into either coins or bars, or mint it into whatever specific piece or part is needed for the manufacturing. Um, but if you think about it, and for the last 2 years, the total amount of silver mined throughout the world, if we're in a deficit on that compared to strictly just the manufacturing demand, that leaves no new silver left over for the financial side. So these next 5 to 10 years down the road, especially with silver, with gold as well, but especially with silver, we're looking at a major squeeze on supply. And, if we hopefully transition back to a more Austrian economic type of free market system, supply and demand will take over at some point. One thing that was actually interesting, it's not really related to physical gold and silver, but I was reading some articles these last couple of weeks about, I'm sure you guys have heard of the emergence of the artificial diamonds and, them being almost just as good as the natural diamonds and how that's kind of shaking things up. I'd actually,
It's all over my TikTok.
yeah, it's a hot topic right now. It's a hot topic. And even before, a lot of people will bring up the idea of precious stones or gems or diamonds to me and things like that. And one major thing that people need to understand is physical gold and silver, they're actually pure elements. So they cannot be created by a chemical or a natural process. So they're a little bit different than your gems or your different minerals and things like that. Now, I had heard for years that the diamond market was a little bit overinflated as far as supply and demand on that might be not as straightforward as we think. But what was most interested in it, your question about artificial intelligence just prompted this, was what I heard was there's a major push for manufacturing these artificial diamonds, not so much for the jewelry supply, but mainly for computing process or computing power as far as like microchips and things like that. So, and I'm not a tech expert. I'll be the first person to say I'm not big into tech or anything like that, but it's really interesting for me to hear that connection between artificial diamonds and being able to store and transfer larger amounts of information versus the current material we use now. So, not related to gold and silver, but I thought that was kind of interesting that it's something that, was for centuries focused mainly on the jewelry aspect, to where similar to silver, it is kind of finding its new place in more of a actual useful manufacturing necessity side.
Well, it's at a perfect time too, right? Because now we're able to manufacture the diamonds at a 17th of the price. It's so much less expensive than having the mined stone, and that it's perfect time for that transition to from jewelry to actually applying it in real world applications. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, but it just makes me think, as these emerging technologies come out, silver is already prevailing as being extremely critical. And so as these emerging technologies continue to roll out, I really am going to be focused and very excited to see what new uses they come up with, some of the things that we might have thought of being used for something else in the past. And the fact that gold and silver are pure elements, if you break down silver, once again, one of the single most heat conducive as well as light reflective materials on Earth, elements on Earth. So to me, the future is to not to be too punny, but the future is very bright with silver. And I think that dual-edged sword is going to continue to push silver up more. Now, I never discourage people from investing in gold. And I think at the end of the day, you should have a combination of gold and silver, just to be diversified. And, gold has certain characteristics as far as portability and stability of value over time over silver. But in general, I do think that we are recommending clients maybe think about taking a larger position in silver right now, just because it's undervalued. And one thing that I prepared here, one thing that I take my clients through a presentation of learning the difference between gold and silver is really justifying or putting it in front of you guys of why silver might be a better choice. So I got some information. I'll go over here quickly. It doesn't take too long and it's pretty straightforward. But before I start this, I want to lay down a foundation of information here. Is both gold and silver have been used as money for thousands of years. They're one of the only financial instruments we've ever had that has never gone to zero, that has always been reliable. So they both play the same role for us. That's very critical for us to find right now to get away from the current US dollar that we're using in our country, as well as Canadian dollar. Most currencies around the world are being hurt by inflation. So that's the role that gold and silver will come in. It'll be a reliable private form of money for us that will, it has stood the test of time. And regardless of how bad of an economic transition we have in front of us, I do believe gold and silver will weather the storm better than most other assets. Now, that being said, when we're thinking about gold versus silver, throughout time, gold has been absolutely steady as far as its valuation. And I gave the example of the last interview we did is a great way to give you an idea of the value of gold is we could take a 1 ounce gold coin or bar into the community. Excuse me. We could take that 1 ounce of gold today and trade it for roughly the same amount of goods we could have 5, 10, 50, 100, 200 years ago. So that steady valuation with gold is absolutely unmatched. Now, one thing that's important to understand is silver is a little bit more volatile. So to where gold has just been steady throughout the years, silver will go up and down a little bit more. It has more of a cyclical action to it. So that being said, at the end of the day, gold is your ultimate steady, safe haven asset. It always has been, but silver has always been the second best alternative throughout history. And I think it's a little bit more popular and might have more traction going forward because of gold is a lot more scarce than silver. So silver is a little bit more reasonable for the everyday investor or actually to be used as a physical monetary instrument. So once again, gold throughout, history has been the ultimate steady form of wealth. Silver is a little bit more volatile. So do keep that in mind. But one of the biggest things we look at, it's a statistic. It's called the gold to silver ratio. And it's a very quick calculation. And how you figure it out is you take the price of gold today and you divide it by the price of silver. So what you're looking to basically discover is how many ounces of silver does it take to equal an ounce of gold at today's, relative value. So that ratio, as well as some other things we'll talk here in a few minutes about, but that one ratio is what I focus on when introducing the idea of the difference between gold and silver to clients. And I apologize for all the viewers. I apologize to you guys, but I will be low tech again today. But I have a really good basic chart I'm just going to hold up, and it's looking at the gold to silver ratio. So I'm going to get it zoomed in here, and then we can go over the information. So what we're looking at the top is the current price of gold and the price of silver on today's date. So right now we are looking at an 86-to-1 ratio, I believe is what that says. So what this means is at the current values, it takes 86 ounces of gold to 86 ounces of silver to equal an ounce of gold. Now, then as you work down in these different ratios is kind of what we're looking at. Now, 40-to-1 is about the 100-year average, the 100-year average of where gold and silver has been. 30-to-1 was where the ratio went to 2011. Now, 2011 was the last time that both gold and silver peaked and hit their all-time highs. Gold went to $2,000, silver went to $50. So as we're working down, then we go to 15-to-1, which is more of like, let's see what it says, the historical average. So if we do, multiple hundreds of years, and then go also 15-to-1 is going to be close to your natural ratio out of the ground. So long story short, if you take a look at this is what one of the greatest pieces of information that will tell me why I believe that silver is undervalued compared to gold. So as we work down in that ratio, it'll show you what this price of silver would be at that ratio compared to the price of gold at that, if gold stays steady to where it is now. So, and people at home, you can take a screenshot of that and then, or, write down the information and follow along. But the main idea that we talk to clients about is because both gold and silver provide the same role for us, if silver is undervalued now, it is our opinion that it's smarter to put more money into silver now, wait for that ratio to normalize. So two things are going to happen. What we see, there's two main things to take away from what we see is going to happen is if you look at this chart and you look at it from a regular investor and you see, okay, even if we go back to our 100-year average, that's going to put silver at 100-year average puts silver at $66, over $66 per ounce. So the average investor is going to look at this and say, dang, we need to buy silver because that's going to be an incredible return. That'll be a 100% increase compared to where it was. And that is true. So if you are getting into physical metals just to make money, silver is a better choice. Once again, that's not really the way to view metals, but some people do speculate. If you are speculating, silver is a better play right now. The way that we really communicate to clients to view this is not so much in terms of US dollars, but in terms of ounces of gold. So if you remember, gold is the ultimate steady form of wealth. It's the only real true money as far as steady valuation that we have. So gold is the end goal for us. My associate Gilbert says it great. He says, I love my silver. I'm going to use my silver to achieve more gold in the end, but I'm not going to die with my silver. I'm going to pass gold on to my kids and their kids, their grandkids. So gold is the ultimate legacy wealth. But if we look at this, I'm going to show you the chart one more time, and then we're going to view it in a little bit different perspective. If gold is the end goal, what we're looking to do is use silver to get more ounces of gold. So what we want to do is we want to buy the silver now, and then once this ratio normalizes back, once it gets to 50 to 1, 40 to 1, even 30 to 1 in this area, our strategy is we're going to take our silver and then trade for gold at that point. So instead of, worrying about the US dollar aspect of this, if you just look at it and think of it as terms of ounces of silver versus ounces of gold, we load up on the silver now. Once that ratio normalizes, we're going to buy that same 1 ounce of gold for less silver. So that is, I think, the most simple way that I can put the strategy, and that's the way that we see it. Once again, they're both going to provide protection for us through this transition. If silver has a better upside potential and we can achieve more ounces of gold at the end of that process, that's really kind of the idea we're working with as far as the gold to silver ratio.
Right. So, you could trade your US dollars for silver, and then as that silver becomes more and more valuable, it'll be easier for you to purchase the gold, right? The gold standard, as time goes on. It makes perfect sense.
Exactly. I am going to buy my silver now. And then right now, it costs me 86 ounces of silver to buy an ounce of gold. I'm going to wait until that ratio normalizes down to 50 to 1, 40 to 1, 30 to 1. Then I'm going to secure that same exact ounce of gold just for less ounces of silver. So a lot of our clients, a lot of our clients do follow that strategy, and they think it makes sense to them. And even within the short amount of time, we've had success with clients as far as the returns of silver versus gold. I will say, though, we sell a lot of gold here every single day. We help people secure gold. And from my perspective, we have clients on all sizes of investment. So we have some clients that'll come in and, they'll buy 1 ounce of silver every week for $30. We'll have other clients that wire us millions of dollars at a time. So if we're thinking about gold versus silver, one interesting thing that I've noticed is our clients that do have 500,000 plus millions of dollars to put into gold and silver, for them, it's more of a priority of convenience of transportation. So they go through the presentation that I put in front of them and they agree, they understand that silver is probably more of a strategic play right now. But for them, with that amount of wealth, they are less concerned on capitalizing on that and expanding it into more. They're just more concerned on securing the wealth that they made throughout their lifetime into something real and something that's easy to carry around. I have a bunch of different silver here, but this is a 100-ounce silver bar here. So here's a 1 ounce coin, and then this is a 100-ounce silver bar. So this guy is a little bit over 7 pounds of pure silver, and he's going to be, just roughly speaking, around $3,000. It'd be a little bit more, but right around $3,000 today. So to carry a good amount or to transport or to store a large amount of wealth in silver, it's heavy, it's bulky, it takes up a lot of space quickly. So For our clients that are in that higher echelon of wealth, I've been selling them kilo gold bars, which is about 1/3 of this. And the kilo gold bars are a little bit over $80,000 today. So really depending, and that's just a perspective just to share with you guys and just food for thought as far as what the different economic, classes are doing when they're getting into gold and silver. But also a downside to silver, as it does take up a lot of space, it is kind of a pain in the butt. I tell my clients, if you're open to dealing with the pain in the butt of silver, I think it will be worth it in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. That was a question that just came up. So, as far as actually buying the gold and silver, do you have to find someone local to you in order to purchase that, or how is it shipped? What what does that look like logistically?
Yeah, so
Do you take it on your airplane when you leave Phoenix? Like, how'd you get it home?
yeah, no, that's a good question. We have customers nationwide, and for my out of town, out of state customers, what we do is we do a fully insured ship to your door. And so, fully insured through FedEx, we actually partner with a third party insurance company that adds additional insurance on top of your package, signature required. So, I'll coordinate with my client. Once I get tracking information, I'll usually reach out to them or email them, say, hey, schedules will be delivered on this time and date. Will you or another adult be there to sign for it? So they don't just leave it on your doorstep. So we have customers nationwide, and we do good business, especially the larger events like where I met you guys at. And then we have Bear Jackson Auto Auction coming up, which we have a big presence at every year. So we meet customers from around the world, around the country. And so I develop good relationships. It is, another step in the process. A lot of my clients like to stop by, pick it up in person here at the office. But for my out-of-state people, it's not a big problem. We insure, fully insured, ship it to your door. We also do offer a vaulting service. So we have an in-company, fully secured, fully insured vault. And just think of that as like a giant safety deposit box, except for it's outside of the banking system. It's not part of the FDIC. It's fully insured. So for my clients the storage account is actually a really good choice for a lot of different people given your circumstance. So for clients that are traveling year round or have multiple houses throughout the country or throughout the world, it's a lot easier for them just to keep majority of their metal in the vault. It's really convenient to own it that way because you can buy and sell it over a phone call. So our clients that start a storage account with us, they get a log into our website. So 24/7, you could pull up your vault, show you how many ounces gold, silver, platinum you have, show you the current value. So, it's the most streamlined way to actually own precious metals because I'll have clients that are traveling. They could even be over in Europe or whatever and call me up, hey, Layton, we need another, quick $10,000, $15,000. So we can sell the metal out of their account and then we can wire you the money that same day. Or vice versa. I have people call me, hey, we sold another property or we liquidated some stocks. We're going to send you another, X amount of dollars. We want to put that into this metal and put it into the vault. So we do offer a vaulting service. I tell people kind of a personal policy of mine is I don't sign any clients up for a storage account unless they have some physical metal at home first, even if it's not a big amount, even if it's a conservative amount. That gives me peace of mind because I tell everyone at the end of the day, if we get into an emergency situation, there's nothing that can replace you going to your safe and getting your hands on the metal. So I do think the storage account's a good choice. It's a really straightforward program, very streamlined, but I do think regardless of how much security you have or how comfortable all my clients should have at least a little bit at home first. But yeah, we offer different solutions. And as far as our out-of-state customers, yeah, it might take another extra day or so to get to you, but it still definitely is worth working with us versus ordering it offline. Or in all fairness, I will say one other thing that's just good information for people is it is good to find someone locally you can deal with face to face that will buy and sell physical gold and silver, because once again, if you get in a pinch or you need to, unload some gold and silver, it is good to know someone locally you can go and do good business with if you just need to, execute something right away. So I encourage everyone to find their local connections. But if you are looking to purchase a larger amount or you want to get connected with someone that can educate you and kind of really answer any questions you have to the fullest extent, that's really what we provide. Our pricing is going to be better than majority of the local shops that people will find in their area. But really how we set ourselves apart is the strategy and the advisory, the education. So, there's a lot of reasons to work with us, and that's not just the pricing. It's not just the inventory.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you have obviously a ton of knowledge. It seems never ending almost. So as far as with the silver, it does sound like from what you said earlier, it seems like it's underpriced, but also there's an oncoming demand for it, which would make it even more attractive as a shorter term play. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I agree. And I mentioned to you guys the first time we did the interview is like I really try to remove sensation out of my presentation because there's a lot of people that get sold and get emotional and get hyped up about something. So I really try to remove sensation out of my presentation. But that being said, silver, in my opinion, and I'm not an expert on the stock market or every market, but I really do believe that physical silver is probably one of the most undervalued assets on earth right now. If you look at the supply and demand characteristics, if you look at um, just the scarcity compared to other asset prices, especially gold, exactly what I was going over on the chart of the gold to silver ratio is the last time that the gold to silver ratio hit 30-1, so it took 30 ounces of silver to equal that ounce of gold, was in 2011. We kind of see similar characteristics in the market on a technical aspect right now because back then gold shot up to at then its all-time high of $2,000. Silver was delayed and then it went up to $50 and it hit that 30-1 ratio. So what we're seeing now throughout the last year or so, yes, silver has been gaining, but gold really has been pushing its all-time high, for majority of the second half of this last year. So with gold at, $2,700, $2,800 and silver still 40% below where it was in 2011, I really think it's a safe thing to say that silver most likely will get back to $50 at some point. Now, we don't give price predictions. And when I bring new people on to work with us and help customers out, one of the first things I teach them is like, listen, we do not give price predictions. We can talk about the fundamentals, the characteristics of what we're looking at, but it's really impossible to say when the price is going to go to, a certain level at any date. And if you talk to anyone or listen to anyone in gold and silver that does have that crystal ball, I'd really be cautious working with them, just because it's impossible to say. So that caution out of the way, I really do think that silver is really poised. Now, just because we're focused on silver, and I think silver is a better investment right now than gold or a better value buy than gold, that doesn't mean that gold's a bad choice. I think both gold and silver are still very undervalued compared to where they might be in the next 5 to 10 years. One of the biggest, most exciting things that I'm witnessing right now is, even though it might not be really, um, even if the overall concept hasn't been accepted by the global community yet, those that are in charge, that are making the policies around the world, I do see gold and silver shifting back into be used as a monetary instrument. And so that's one of the biggest developments for me. Like, yes, silver right now, one of the biggest things about it is this industrial demand that's growing every day. But if you're thinking about supply and demand and value, if you just think about the idea of gold and silver transitioning back into monetary instruments around the world, no matter how many EVs, Elon can make, or no matter how many solar panels that they can pump out, the monetary demand of gold and silver, I still think will completely outpace the industrial demand going forward.
Layton, what are your thoughts on owning junk silver?
I love junk silver.
And could you let everybody know what junk silver
Yeah.
is?
I
What's
love
that?
junk silver. I should have grabbed a tube. I might have a few somewhere. So junk silver is really great. So junk silver is like a nickname or a term. Also, is used constitutional silver is what it's called. But what it is United States dimes, quarters, and half dollars. So literally the money we used to use. In 1964 was the last year that they actually made the dimes, quarters, and half dollars out of 90% silver. And so just on initial impact of that information, it's kind of crazy to think, okay, it was only 1964 we were using real money as money, our silver dimes, our silver quarters, our silver halves. So we really aren't that far removed from using gold and silver as real money. I think they're really smart to have today because they have some of the highest utility and transaction when it comes to physical silver. So what I buy for myself and what I recommend is the silver dimes. And right now, a silver dime, I think we're selling it for about $2.20 per dime. So we'll sell individual dimes, we sell tubes of them, or we have them pre-portioned in $100 face value bags. So for $100 face value of dimes would be 1,000 dimes because there's 10 dimes per $1 face value within those coins. I think they're really smart because I don't think we'll get to the point, and I hope we don't get to the point. But as far as a prepper mindset goes, if we have to go to the farmer's market, I think one of the best things to pull up is going to be the silver dimes, because when I go to negotiate for my goods, I want to be able to negotiate $2 worth of silver at a time versus, $3,000 worth of silver at a time. So that's the trade-off of being bulk versus your smaller items. Or and then this is like a 1 ounce silver round. So these will be great for the barter scenario as well. These are a little bit over $30 today. So this is, 1 ounce of silver, and then we have 10 ounce silver bars. But that junk silver you asked about, Tim, I think that's one of the smartest things that people can buy if they don't have any silver at home. So if you're just starting to build your foundation, I think everyone should get some junk silver. Another great aspect about it is very recognizable. Pretty much everyone will know what an old dime, an old quarter, an old $50 looks like, the dimensions of it, what it feels like in the hand. And you can actually verify the metal content two ways. So you can look at the date of the actual coin. If it's 1964 before, it's 90% silver. Or you can look at the edge. So like the reed of the coin, the edge of the coin, your dimes, quarters, $50, if they're pre-65, they will be all silver. To where the modern quarters, dimes we use, you can see the copper and the zinc band in there right away. So junk silver is amazing. I think everyone should have at least, you don't need a mountain of it. Just get a conservative amount depending on how much you want to put into gold and silver total. Put a conservative amount into your junk silver. But when I buy silver for myself, I have a little bit of it all. But when I buy it now, what I do is I'll buy like a 100 ounce silver bar, and then I'll buy a bag of silver dimes. And the way that I kind of view this is my 100 ounce silver bar, if you buy it in bulk size like this, you save a little bit of money. So if you were to buy one of these 100 ounce bars or 100 of these 1 ounce coins, you pay a little bit more for the smaller coin. So if you bought 100 of these, one of these, it'd be the same amount of silver. You probably save, 100, $200 to go for your 100 ounce bar, pay a little bit more to get your smaller item. So the way that I view it is, okay, I'm going to buy my 100 ounce silver bar. I'm just going to get my overall ounces up with this. And also I'm going to get a lower average cost because I'm getting a better value buy with this. So I'm going to buy one of these, and I'm going to buy a bag of silver dimes. The dimes I'm viewing as my emergency metal. If I have to go to the farmer's market, if I need to exchange a small amount, I'm getting my dimes because I think that's going to be one of the best things to use in that scenario. So, and I use that example because I don't think someone buying gold and silver should buy just all silver dimes. Now, if someone really wanted all silver dimes, that's not a bad thing to have. If you have a mountain of silver dimes, I think you're going to be in a lot better position than most Americans. But to answer your question, I would say junk silver is great. Highest utility in transaction for silver, very recognizable, and very manageable. Some of our clients, you can buy a silver dime for a little bit over $2 today, so affordable for everyone.
For sure. Layton, how do people, you buy the physical metal. How do people, the average people, store that physical metal in their house?
I'm smiling because I hear so many creative, funny hiding places from clients every day. A lot of my clients will just have a really good gun safe or, secure safe, something in their house, and they'll keep their precious metals in there. Some of my clients will put their silver in the Easter decorations box in the garage. Some of my clients will bury it. So like the amount of different stories I hear, we have one client and she's like really sweet older lady from Iowa, and she'll buy the 100 ounces of silver. She spray paints them brown and then uses them as like garden dividers. So that one's pretty entertaining. Which actually not to be too off topic, but I wonder if that, promotes the growth of her flowers. I'll have to ask her the next time I talk to her. But it's a serious consideration. It's an important question to ask. It's an important thing to figure out if you are thinking about buying gold and silver. I do have to talk to everyone about is like, one of the greatest single things about physical gold and silver is the privacy aspect, but also that can turn into a serious negative in the case of theft, or if you lose it, misplace it, can't, remember where you put it. So you do have to, take seriousness in taking possession of your own physical wealth, and hold some respect for that, and make sure that you have a good contingency plan. About the only thing I wouldn't really recommend doing with it is taking it to a safety deposit box inside of the bank. Because one of the biggest victories, one of the greatest things we do when we take possession of physical gold and silver is we're privately exiting the manipulated banking system. So to privately exit the banking system, get it in your hand, and then go put it right back into the banking system is removing a lot of the aspects that gold and silver can provide for us. Now, yes, safety deposit box, in theory, it is more private than holding cash in an account, et cetera. But you're still subject to banking holidays, and the bank's closing their doors, or some complication going on to where you can't get into the safety deposit box. So I do have clients that store it in the safety deposit box, and if that's what the individual decides is best for them and their family, then I respect that. That's not really my decision, but I don't really think that's the best choice. If you don't want to take on the security factor of holding it at home, then I think, signing up for one of our storage accounts in a private vault, fully insured, outside of the FDIC is a lot better way to go about storing your metals somewhere outside your home.
This is a good question. If it's stored in a safety deposit box at the bank, is it then subject to FDIC insurance up to $250,000?
I'm not gonna answer that question with confidence, just because honestly I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you something I don't know. I can assume that it probably is under the FDIC. I've never had a safety deposit box. I'm not a big fan of the banking system and things like that. I have a great relationship with the tellers at the local bank we use for our business, because I always go in and have conversations with them. So I enjoy the people that work in the banking system, but the way the system's set up, I do not believe in it. And so I don't have an answer for that. I would assume it probably is under the FDIC in some sort of a capacity. But then again, if it is under the FDIC, I'm sure that they have to document the value of what is in your safety deposit box. So to be honest with you, I don't know that.
Well, the answer to that question is contents in a safety deposit box are not insured by FDIC because it's not a deposit account.
That makes sense.
Very interesting.
And those contents are not insured if either damaged or stolen.
Yeah. And I will share a quick story. It'll only take a minute, but I think this was 2 summers ago. There was a story that came out of, I think it was Hollywood or somewhere in Los Angeles, Southern California. Now, it wasn't an official bank, but it was a third-party location that offered safety deposit boxes. To my knowledge, that was their business. And some local law enforcement or some sort of agency was investigating a crime related to illegally got funds or something like that. And it was linked back to either one or only a couple of the safety deposit boxes at this facility. The authorities went in and they confiscated every single safety deposit box in the whole building. And actually, I'm gonna walk that back. I don't know if they confiscated, but at least they froze access to the entire property and to everyone's whatever, even if it's someone that wasn't involved with that crime or that other box. So I don't know if they ended up taking all the contents of the box or just froze access to it. But once again, it's not exactly related because that's out of the side of the banking system. But I do think that is a little bit of an indicator of, even if it's not obvious, the control and the reach that the authorities have with institutions like that. So I would be very cautious trusting the bank with anything that's not, with anything in general, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's certainly, it's interesting to have these thought processes though, because everyone is slightly tied to the bank, right?
It's a forced
Because that's
participation.
where,
It's a forced participation. There's a lot of projects that are developing around the country. The state of Texas is working on some really smart, innovative things, and I couldn't be more excited because I think people are enough people have lifted the veil of reality versus the control mechanisms. And I think now the smart people, the good patriots, are starting to come out of the woodwork, and we're starting to create solutions for ourselves, myself included, working on projects and trying to brainstorm and come up with good solutions outside of what we do here in the office every single day. So I think we're about to go through an age of innovation and recapturing of freedom. And I'm super excited. And I think gold and silver on a financial aspect are the kryptonite to the current financial system.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Layton, tell our listeners what it looks like to work with you and your company.
Um, as a client or a potential client or investor, it looks like just down to earth personal conversations. And that's really one way that we excel in the business that we're in is we take things seriously and we do things correctly. And we take a lot of seriousness in making sure we execute things right, getting people correct pricing and making sure the process is done, well and building the trust with clients. But we break down all communication barriers and we break down all information gaps for clients. I feel like a lot of the other gold and silver dealers out there, you get them on the phone, even if they're polite with you, they're informational. I really feel like the experience you get with them is they don't really want you to understand the entire workings of the business. And so with us, it's myself and my associate Gilbert. Like, we are very easy to talk to. We treat every single client with the same respect, and we focus on education first. So what it looks like is working with us. If you stop into our office here in North Scottsdale, we have a great showroom and you can get your hands on the different metal. You can learn in person. We can show you all the different machines that we test, use to verify the metals. We have a box full of counterfeit items that people have tried to sell to us. So fake bars, fake coins. So, we have a whole thing that we can take you through, educate you in person, but a lot of our clients are nationwide and a lot of people I work with over the cell phone, and we email back and forth invoices and information as far as deals that we lock in, shipping instructions. So everything is very transparent with us, but really, and I don't think it turns off too many people, but if we have some investors that are used to grinding on the phone with their stock advisor, their stockbroker, or grinding on the phone with their property manager or whatever they're else in, we just kind of keep it very straightforward, down to earth, communicate the critical information. So working with us is we make it as easy as possible, and we really are here to educate. So working with us looks like getting an education, and then at the point that you decide to invest, if you do work with us, it's a purchase made with confidence, I guess, is another thing that it looks like. Complete confidence, knowing what you're doing, knowing why the specific item you're getting is a smart choice, and why working with us was better than working with the other guys.
Absolutely. So how should people get in touch with you if they want to move forward with this education process and possibly purchasing some gold or silver with you?
Yeah, just reach out. Just reach out to us. Our email is info@preciousmetalspodcast.com. So like we had talked about a little bit, our first interview, we started a podcast this year, preciousmetalspodcast.com. So that's our website, preciousmetalspodcast.com. And then you can reach out to me, send an email, and just set up a conversation. Most of our clients will just send quick email. Hey, this is so-and-so. Want to learn about this specifically? Here's my phone number. Give me a call when you're available. Or, let's email me back. Let's schedule time we get on the phone. Or if people, don't have the time or don't want to talk on the phone, email any questions you have. And then, we can respond via email or text. And really the only thing that listeners or you guys need to do is just get that first conversation with us, and then we'll take it from there, and we'll make it easy, and we'll make sure that we help you out in the best way possible, but also we'll help you out in the way that's in your best interest is the biggest takeaway. But yeah, email info@preciousmetals.com, and pretty straightforward. Our website is built out. It's very basic. I need to post our first couple podcasts that we recorded on there, but all the information is on that website as far as how to get in contact with us.
Yeah, like everything, it's just taking that first step and moving forward and making informed decisions from there. But it does seem like a lot of times taking that first step could be the heaviest step to take, and then it just flows naturally from there. So thank you so much, Layton, for joining us once again. This has been great. Loved hearing more about silver and gold again. So if anyone out there wants to reach out to Layton, it's info@preciousmetalspodcast.com, and you'll get the man himself, Layton McWilliams.
Yeah, make it pretty easy, and down to earth conversations. Be happy to educate and help any of your listeners out. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us again, Layton.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Layton. We appreciate it.